Hey Rare Community, this is Dr. Travis Stoner, and today I was asked by Coach Ryan to talk a little bit about hip mobility. Some of us have heard that as we keep working out, we can get our hips out of rotation or our pelvis out of alignment, and what that usually means isn't so much a bony rotation. There's only a couple of millimeters of movement in the SI joint, but what we can get is an actual functional loss of rotation and pelvic mobility. When you start looking into the reasons why, one of the main reasons is from a tight iliacus and a tight quadratus lumborum. Your quadratus lumborum, or QL, attaches the back part of your pelvis up to your 12th rib. So it's kind of running from here straight up to here. And it is a major component to postural stability. And your iliacus is part of your iliopsoas. So psoas major is attaching the front part of your spine, coming across to the front part of your hip. Your iliacus runs along the interior ridge of your pelvis, going to the same attachment on your femur. So your hip flexors and your QLs can become really tight, especially if you're spending a lot of time in a seated position, or if you're not actually doing a lot of active running or sprinting where you'd be moving into that hip extension phase of gait. A lot of us tend to walk with a shortened step length. The other thing is when you're looking into doing deadlifts, squats, snatches, you do want to have a tight core, but you also want to make sure you have that good lumbopelvic mobility. And so today I just want to show you two quick releases, one for QL and one for your psoas, using a little tennis ball and our trusty friend, the kettlebell, to try and release some of those muscles. So to start, we're going to do a quick retest. It's really easy. If you sit like this, you're going to take any kind of pelvic and hip rotation out of it. So you sit here, cross your arms, and then just do a twist. And you can see my right rotation is really locked down. My left rotation is actually pretty good. But when I go to the right, I'm really stuck kind of right here in about 45 degrees because my left QL is super tight. So I'm going to show you a quick release for that. You're going to take your tennis ball, and the thing about QL is running from your pelvis to your ribs. So if you start coming in from your very side here, in between your pelvis and your ribs, and you start feeling around, you're going to find a really hard ridge right there. That's going to be your QL. You're going to take your tennis ball and put it right into that spot, and then just lay back right over top of it. And if you're in the right spot, you'll know it. So I'm just a little too lateral. So I'm going to move my body to the left, get the ball a little bit more medial, a little closer to my spine. Yep. Now I'm right in that spot. Trust me, you'll know it when you feel it. From here then, all I have to do is start pulling my knee up towards my chest and back out. And I can do a little bit of flossing, because what that's going to do is when you go into hip flexion, your pelvis does a posterior pelvic rotation. So it's going to be elongating that QL and then bringing it back down. So I'm essentially flossing back and forth with this. I can also then just take my knee and hold it for a good ischemic pressure. Ischemic pressure just means that I'm putting enough pressure up against that muscle that I'm decreasing the blood flow to it. It lacks the nutrition to continue its contraction, and so it will eventually give out from there. So I'm just flossing my QL a little bit. I need to go a little bit more. There it is. There we go. And I'm just going to floss that a little bit. And then I'm going to actually stay in this position to do my psoas release. So to find psoas, I'm going to find that ASIS, that front part of the pelvis that sticks straight up right there. I'm going to go about half a finger, so about that far. I'm going to go that far medially or inside of that ASIS. Then I'm going to start feeling around. I'm going to do a straight leg raise to test to see if I'm over top of that hip flexor. So I'm not yet. There it is, right there. I found it. So you're going to feel a tight band underneath of your fingers when you do that straight leg raise. You're then just going to put the tennis ball right over top of it. So it should be just to the inside of that ASIS and just just laterally to your umbilicus, your belly button. You're then going to take your kettlebell and you're going to put it right over top of that tennis ball right there. And you can do the same thing as if you just hold it there, you're going to get some ischemic pressure. But if you do heel slides with it, you're going to do that same kind of flossing motion that you were doing with QL. So if you just do some easy heel slides with a little bit of pressure from the tennis ball, you'll notice a really good release. The other thing you can do is a little bit of transverse friction massage over top of it by actually doing a little bit of a clamshell, and that's going to cause your hip flexor to kind of move right and left with that tennis ball right in the middle of it, so you're going to get transverse friction massage across that as well. And it doesn't take long. So I just did about 5 each way. Now I'm going to sit back up. We're going to check my right rotation again. So as I cross my arms, you can now see that I'm getting a whole lot further into that right rotation. And it's pretty much now even with my left, if not my left actually being a little bit tighter now. So really quick way to add some lumbar hip mobility into a lot of your exercises.